Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the CFG for having me, and also to all of you for being here this afternoon. I know Brussels is buzzing with events, so I'm happy to be sharing the stage this afternoon with you all. Let me begin by admitting that chemistry was never one of my strongest subjects in school. I say this because I thought for quite a while how to start that talk. And I started by saying the Nobel Prize, a synonym for innovation, progress, innovation, knowledge that changes the world. This year, Nobel Prize for Chemistry actually partly went to AI. And I believe, of course, most of you, not all of you, know that very well in this room, but there is one word that stands out, and that's protein. Proteins are, of course, very complex molecules essential to all biological processes, and their functions are determined by a three-dimensional structure. Those structures predict and are made out of amino acid sequences that can be a long-standing challenge in molecular biology. Just to have a more visual way of how important molecules are, they make between 16 to 80% of the body weight of a healthy human. So the task was how to design a protein with a specific structure so that those new proteins can compensate the modern time problems that are related to pollution or health issues or overheating and so on and so forth. So of course, after the impressive breakthrough of 3 great minds, we can now design proteins from scratch with an intended function that can tackle those modern days problems and challenges that we face. The reason why I'm using this particular example, and yes, that is not something I often talk about in the European Parliament, is to be able to again visualize the picture of the magnitude of the change we're experiencing today, both in terms of its deepness, but also in terms of its speed. So I did not come here as a popular biologist, neither as a chemistry person. I do admire those. I came in as an elected representative. As an elected representative that would like to speak about the magnitude of change and the magnitude, most importantly, of the challenge we are facing to regulate that change that AI creates to humanity. Speaking of humanity and challenges, I think this is the challenge for humanity. The challenge is how to set the human acceptable boundaries of something we don't truly know. And so to do it in a way that does not prevent us from finding the cure for cancer, or blocking agent for Alzheimer, or the agent to dissolve plastics and decrease the pollution globally. I would like to start maybe describing the solution or the recipe by first of all busting a myth. And the myth I want to bust is that the best thing for business and innovation is no regulation. I think this myth is based on the lack of understanding of the way there should be some sort of a collaboration between technology, between society and business. Because AI will not become a real product or a service or an application that brings benefits to business unless there are good and smart regulations. And I think those regulations should do at least one thing, and that is to create trust. If we look back, trust is the basis for every new technology that has come into our lives and has become widely used. It's thanks to the trust it was able to create. I think we're at the point of time that we should stop dividing the discussion between tech utopians versus tech skeptics, between innovators versus regulators. What we need today, I believe, is a more pragmatic approach, a bit more realistic. I myself like to describe my work as someone that deeply believes in the power of technology, in a way a tech enthusiast, but also a tech realist. So if we want to navigate that impressive and fast developing change that probably one could say has no brakes, I think we need to navigate it well. We need to navigate it smartly. We need to make sure it helps the human. So what can we do? I think for those of us who can't necessarily code, who do not spend their days in a lab, but understand the complexity of human relations, would like to live in a values-based society, those of us who understand the complexity of the European Union and how it works and takes decisions, I think we need to start a conversation with the tech innovators, with those who understand and develop the technologies, with the people who determine the speed of the change. A conversation that will be based on one thing, and that is our shared responsibility we have for navigating that change. Because I believe we cannot and we should not trade our economic competitiveness for our values. We cannot trade our ethics for profit. We cannot trade our security for technological progress. What we need, and I think it's pretty fundamental, is that we need to rewrite the social contract. And this process cannot be exclusive, it has to be inclusive. And for this to happen, we need to learn some of the lessons of the past. We let social media platforms develop, and we missed a crucial moment to start that conversation about the shared responsibility with them. Today, however, I think AI is something of a different magnitude. And this is why a new social contract is needed. It's needed to be discussed, negotiated, so that on one hand, citizens are protected, to put it in very simple terms, and on the other hand, tech companies can innovate freely, but also understand their responsibility. This is why I would put out 3 simple, perhaps sounding principle, but that require a lot of work and collaboration. And the first one is related to the regulation that is needed, but it has to be done in a very smart and perhaps different way than done until now. Secondly, I think we would need an AI that is human-centric, and it's a tool that enhances human capabilities and does not go against them. And thirdly, we need as much as possible global collaboration so that those new rules and standards that we talk about are universally recognized and applied. So saying this, as I know it won't be easy and it will require a certain amount of change of the way we do things, I would like to finish with a famous quote by George Bernard Shaw, and that is that progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. So let's not leave the change only to machines or computers or AI. Let's navigate that change together. Thank you.